Thank you, Professor Chaudhary. My apologies for showing up late. Hi to all of you. Thank you, Dean, for having us here. Just to quickly bring you up to speed on what we've done as a government before I answer your question. About 7.5 years ago, when Telangana came into being as a new state, in fact, on the 2nd of June 2014, I was here at ISB campus on the 3rd of June of 2014. So the very next day, I assumed office as a Minister for Information Technology, Industry and Urban Development. The very next day, in fact, I chose not to accept shawls and garlands and a bunch of other things that typically go with being a minister, but I showed up here. Ajit Rangnekar, I think, was the dean then, and he invited me and he extended a warm welcome. Not only did he invite me, but he also actually brought in several stakeholders who potentially can be a part of the ecosystem. So we had the good fortune of interacting with the entire team of IIIT. Then there was, I think, the Center for Innovation here. All of us came together. We brainstormed for a couple of hours that day, and we asked ourselves a question. I heard you speaking before, to the previous panelist. One of the questions we asked ourselves is, what does Bangalore have that we don't? What does Bangalore have going for it that we currently don't? So one of the things we decided is that we will set up, the country's largest and government-enabled entrepreneurial ecosystem in the form of an incubator. So that's how T-Hub came into being. T-Hub today, I think some of you may be aware of it and some of you may not be. In fact, we have our CEO sitting right here, Srinivas. It's the country's largest incubator, technology incubator, and it has actually grown from strength to strength. In fact, if you look back 6 years and now, what has happened in Hyderabad is nothing short of a brilliant story. In 2015, we just had 2014-15, we just had one incubator in the city. Now it's and one co-working space. Now it's 57 plus incubators and 70 plus co-working space in the city. So the ecosystem has been growing consistently. We had more than 400 startups in 2015. Today there's more than 6,600 plus as of December 2021. And the kind of funding we've also been able to attract in the last couple of years has grown significantly, but of course, no comparison to Bangalore. With Vani still wanting to, remain in Bangalore, in spite of all the promises she made to me in the last couple of years that she'll visit us more often. Vani, I will hold you to that promise. I heard you. 2022, you said you'll spend more time here, so we'll hold you to that. In fact, our amount of funding that we've been receiving is growing at 138% year on year. In 2019, it was $313 million. In 2020, it was 371. And this year, in spite of all the challenges, all the obstacles we had, it's $886 million, so nearing $1 billion thereabouts. Most importantly, in my humble opinion, the unicorn story that we keep hearing about, 42, 43, 44, and in my humble opinion, also some ridiculous valuations that we get to see. Some of you may agree, some of you may not, but कभी-कभी डर भी लगता है कि क्या हो रहा है. तो उसमें हमारे भी कुछ हैं यहाँ पे, हमारे यहाँ से भी. We have about 4 unicorns from Hyderabad. I'll just name them quickly. Zenoti, High Radius, Gainsight, and Greenco. These are all unicorns, and then there are 25 plus sunicorns. I don't think I have to tell you what a sunicorn is, but and minicons. So there's plenty of them. Darwinbox, Adonimo, many others that I can name. So yes, we have been growing, but I do want to tell you one thing. The question that you asked before, does distance matter? And Varun, I think, said no, location does not matter. But Varun, I have a slightly different opinion there. In fact, I'll just give you one example from my personal experience. There is a gentleman called Funny, who's one of the founders of Redbus. He happens to be from Telangana, from Nizamabad. He's our own entrepreneur, but he ended up in Bangalore, just like Vani. And then eventually, he came out with his idea of this beautiful product called Redbus, and it became a huge success. So I invited Funny back to Hyderabad. I said, you be our poster boy, you be my chief innovation officer, because you create that aspiration value. अगर ये Funny कर सकता है तो मैं क्यों नहीं कर पाऊंगा? That should be the sort of aspiration that we should inculcate in our youngsters. So let's do that. So he agreed, and he spent a couple of years being our chief innovation officer. But one interesting experience I had with Funny, his home base continued to be in Bangalore. So one day Funny receives an email from message from Telangana, Hyderabad entrepreneur, some startup guy, saying, Funny, I want you to come visit me, and I have a brilliant idea. Why don't you actually invest? So he said, yes, I am there in Hyderabad a week later, so let me talk to you. But I think a couple of days after Funny received this message, there was a Bangalore startup, entrepreneur who sent him a message saying, Funny, can I come see you? Because both of them were in Bangalore, they decided to meet the very same day. And that gentleman actually received an offer from Funny that very day because he loved the idea. So the point, Varun, is sometimes, even though we would like to believe that the world is technology has enabled us to connect more often, so, it's become simpler, the world is one, single village, etc., etc. The fact is, personal meetings, physical appearances, sometimes meeting in person and sometimes Starbucks coffees also do help. And that is one of the reasons why I've been pushing Vani and a lot of you, in fact, the venture capitalists, to actually have a base in Hyderabad. And going back to what government can do, Professor Chaudhary, in fact, we are not content with what we have done in T-Hub. Now, we are creating the world's largest, incubator in the form of T-Hub Phase 2. It is ready for inauguration in a couple of months. And what I would like to offer to all the venture capitalists in the room here is we will give you a dedicated space. He talked about atrium. I'm going to give you something even better. 5-star facility and absolutely free Starbucks coffees. I'm not competing with ISB, Chaudhary sir.
No, we want that space too. We want an ISB. Come on.
More the merrier. More the merrier.
Yeah, we want
we
want an ISB corner there.
Absolutely. Done.
Okay.
You want to sign something off today?
Yes,
we have the dean here.
Please make him sign it.
Ajit, it's your responsibility. Aapka jagah hai ye. So the point I was trying to make, see, government at best can be an enabler. We can create a space. See, the biggest compliment I have received in the last couple of years after creating T-Hub, after setting it up, मुझे 2 कॉम्प्लीमेंट बहुत अच्छे लगे. एक तो जब भी कोई मंत्री या कोई एम्बेसडर, कोई डिप्लोमेट वहां पे आया या कोई वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट आया, कोई एंटरप्रेन्योर आया, तो उन्होंने ये कहा कि ये सरकारी ऑफिस नहीं लगती है. तो मैंने कहा बिल्कुल लगना नहीं चाहिए. और दूसरी बात, मैं जब जाता हूँ T-Hub में आज, मुझे कोई पहचानता नहीं है. सबसे बड़ी बात अच्छी बात इसलिए है, it's a good thing because I believe government should not poke its nose where it does not belong. We should be an enabler. We should create infrastructure. We should create conducive, congenial, atmosphere to ensure that the business gets done. And we should not poke our nose into day-to-day affairs and operational, kind of guidelines being issued from, principal secretary or myself. So what we have done is we have created a baby which has taken off on its own, into its own orbit. Now I believe it can, it has developed wings and it can fly. Now, the next version of T-Hub, the phase 2 of it, is going to be the world's largest with more than 320,000 square foot of space. In fact, in Paris recently, I visited Station F, which is supposedly the world's largest. I can assure you we are going to be better than that because I will be throwing it open. I'll be getting it thrown open in the next couple of months, waiting for the right kind of lineup to make sure that Bangalore also feels a bit of our energy from Hyderabad. So therefore, my humble appeal to all the venture capitalists, आप जरा बैंगलोर से बाहर भी झांक के देखो. दुनिया बहुत बड़ी है, हिंदुस्तान बहुत बड़ी है, और हैदराबाद भी बहुत खूबसूरत सिटी है.
So I don't want you to get away from this too easily. Okay, is that okay? So here's what I'm going to push you on. It's true. There's a lot of physical infrastructure, but everybody will tell you that physical infrastructure is not enough, right? Infrastructure is important, but human capital is very important. So, lest you leave very quickly here without promising more, I want every one of you who's out there on my panel and this room to ask KTR Garu right now, what else do you need from them? Why are you not coming? I mean, physical infrastructure is obviously not enough, right?
Well, the question is directed at you.
So,
why are you not coming?
I'm going to give you opportunity. I don't want to be the only one. Ask him right now and let him commit on video that he's going to do it, and Jayesh too. So please go ahead. Ask, let's start. I think Jayashri wanted to ask something, so I'll give Jayashri a chance, and then Vani, you tell us what you want from KTR and Jayesh.
In fact, you remind her that I was at Kalari's event in Bangalore just to make sure that she comes over to Hyderabad, but she hasn't.
Okay, you can fight this out later, but right now you are on the hot seat, okay? Jayashri.
Yeah, so I thought like a true entrepreneur, I should take this opportunity to pitch one more idea which will help venture capitalists as well. So being very budding venture capitalists ourselves, we've seen some issues regulatorily which is basically foreign investors when they have to invest in an Indian AI structure. They don't like some of the regulations of having to make a PAN card and all. So they either come through Mauritius or through some other offshore vehicle. So I think the recent Gujarat Gift City, they have tried to shape something in this regard, which is still not foolproof, but probably Hyderabad has an opportunity to shape something
Okay.
such that...
So you're saying remove the regulatory cholesterol, right, as much as possible. Some of it is a center issue, right?
Correct.
But is there a state issue that they can handle?
So I don't know, the Gujarat Gift City was clearly a central idea, or was it a state initiative as well?
It was a
Okay.
state idea backed by the center, and there can't be tax havens in India, inside of India. So Gift City was one such idea where
Okay.
recreate a or a tax haven inside of India, on the Indian shore.
Cool.
I think, Namaskaram, KTR garu.
Hello, ma'am.
How are you?
All good, Mani. Yes.
And thank you, by the way. I know you have always been very generous with your time. You came to Kalari event and electrified everyone. And I think the answer that we are discussing this while sitting at ISP. ISP as a premier, business institute started in Hyderabad, and I think there are some lessons to draw there. And by the way, Jay Garu knows this because I invited him to my Bhumi Puja, and we were building a house in Hyderabad, India. So that's a first look. But and it's not physical infrastructure because whether it's Starbucks or ISP Atrium or the fun conversation on private and who's at the table when you go there, which was families having run versus sort of that happy place for business kind of a thing. I think the physical infrastructure is fine, but we can make that physical infrastructure ourselves as needed. I think what it is going on this kind of a road tour to continuously invite founders to come. I'm happy to sign up to do that with you, anyone else in the ministry and so forth. I honestly feel putting money into Hyderabad is something that, I can tell you, I would personally love to do. In fact, we have hired a partner in Hyderabad, okay? And he travels to Bangalore once in 2 weeks to come visit us, and we do travel back. But I think the founders have to come to Hyderabad, and I think there's a company in Hyderabad Angels. The founders are there. The question is about volume and, kind of a million that we are seeing. Now, there are many emerging things that are happening, whether that's in gaming or Web3 or NFTs and whatever, right? We recently invested in an NFT company in Chennai. And, so I don't have to go to Chennai. It wasn't Bangalore. This is sort of the next emerging technology. When that company succeeds, what happens is it creates a certain pool of ecosystem of companies that are coming out. So I think taking some of the emerging technologies that are coming and sort of just being on that, road towards to ask entrepreneurs to come and make it possible for them to come. If that's what is maybe simple, but what I would suggest it would be more than glad to sign up to support that.
Vani, let me quickly respond to you, on that emerging technologies piece. Sometimes physical interaction does matter. And the reason, again, I don't want to elaborate on that, but it does matter. But two emerging technologies that I can think of where I believe the opportunity for Hyderabad to seize the moment. One is mobility, because in mobility space right now, there's a huge opportunity for us to garner, and we are in active consultations with many startups and many, in fact, consulting companies and also automobile companies. In fact, yesterday, Bhavish was here of Ola. We were talking to him also about this mobility piece, and then we are also in consultations with Hyundai, ZF, Fiat, Chrysler, and BCG is helping us. We are building something truly unique, and I do believe that the opportunity there is huge, because as the number of automobiles continue to grow in India, essentially the new age automobile is nothing but a computer on 4 wheels. So therefore, the opportunity to innovate, the opportunity to come out with something ingenious for Indian consumers is obviously a huge market opportunity which no company can ignore. That's the first piece I would like to mention. The second thing I'd like to mention also is drone tech. In fact, in drone tech, we've again done something very unique. We were the first state in the country to have come out with a drone policy, and in fact, recently, in tandem with World Economic Forum and the local hospital group here, Apollo, and a bunch of startups, we started a project called as Medicine from the Sky. We are delivering vaccines and we are delivering blood even to the remotest parts of our state, where connectivity, network, road connectivity sometimes could be a problem, and also for expeditious delivery. In fact, eventually it could even be used for organ transplants and, bunch of other things in healthcare sector. So health tech using drones, and then bunch of other applications, of course, in drone tech, and also this mobility space. These two spaces, I believe, are huge opportunities where Hyderabad can certainly focus. And, I don't believe that, we should boil the ocean. Like you said, let's focus on our strengths. Let's focus on areas where Hyderabad can do well in comparison with Bangalore or Chennai or any other city. So therefore, like Varun mentioned, I think SaaS is one area where Chennai could be doing better. Hyderabad can pick its battles, Hyderabad can pick its areas and play to its strengths rather than trying to do everything and not be a master of one. We could potentially look at few sectors, and that we could engage with ISB and engage with other knowledge partners and come out with a strategic, kind of goal setting and work towards it. But going back to my point, Vani, I'm glad you're building a house, and I want you to also build a Kalari office here, put a few people in place, and I want you to actually sign some checks, and I want Sanjay of Bloom also to come and distribute some of his beautiful T-shirts that he's wearing, and physical meetings and physical interactions actually do help, and actually will inspire a lot of startups and youngsters and young minds here.
Yeah, so I was going to actually invite Sanjay to also tell us, well, because Bloom is really an international now. You're spending so much time in the US now looking for both funding and startup ideas. So give us a sense, what would make Bloom spend more time in Hyderabad? And should we take this idea of maybe taking one or two things, one or two verticals where we have a natural strength because of where we are? Should we focus on that, or should we go all over? What do you think?
Sure, Professor. First of all, my dear friend and co-founder, Karthik Reddy Bhumani, and Nandini also know well, has a Hyderabad base. So we have, of course, roots and linkages. Secondly, Professor, thanks for giving us the chance. You cold call all of us. This is not a cold call, but it's a chance to just get warm call all of you back. Just a couple of ideas here. I think, Nandini will relate to this being in Bombay. When I look at, ideas for Hyderabad, in Bombay, when you have, I think fintech is a very interesting idea. One also has portfolio there. But real estate is the killer in Bombay. That's extremely expensive, and for startups to, even for very normal people, it's expensive. For startups, it's really difficult. And I think that is something that, could be interesting ideas in Hyderabad. In one sense, physical infrastructure is a start. It is not the only thing, but it is important. The other ideas,
Excellent. I want to take this opportunity to reach out to the audience and ask questions, but let me invite Ajit first to give his perspective. He's been at ISB since 2003, is that right? 4, Ajit? 5?
So you want me to tell my age? I can tell you.
Even I was there, but I'm young. Okay. So tell us what your experience has been, and especially tell me if you have had frustrations. So we all like to hear in these conferences how everything is going well. But if everything is going well, we didn't need the conference, right?
Yeah.
So tell us, what are the roadblocks? What do we need to change?
So I think, first, and some of you have made this point, this is and has always been amongst the best cities of entrepreneurs. Just that they were in life sciences, in seed, we 65%, 2/3 of the country's seed capital is here. Let's not underestimate some of those. In pharma, we are the pharma capital. For God's sake, half of us are alive because of Bharat Biotech.
We're the vaccine capital of the world.
Absolutely, we are the vaccine. So, there is enormous amount of capital and of, entrepreneurial capital which has a demonstrated, not just a valuation driven, but a demonstrated impact creating capability. So I think let's one. Okay. What is happening is that, we started this, rightly said, in 2014. Right? So we have started this a lot later. I think we are coming up the curve. I see one or two things, and I tend to agree. I actually make it a habit of never publicly agreeing with the minister, more because we want to have more interactions and discussions, but I'll agree. I think presence matters. If I look at what happens in Stanford, especially Stanford engineering, right? You go out and you can meet some 3-4 brilliant startup people, you can meet some outstanding faculty, you can meet. We need a public meeting place where startups, venture capitalists, people, academics can really meet easily without having to go through gates and, those things. That's one big thing. The second thing is where I think, and especially now that I'm not the dean, I'm happy to make this request. We should be encouraging many more of our successful entrepreneurs from ISB community, and there are literally hundreds of people working with CXOs and themselves startup, to spend serious time here.
Yeah.
Not just one day solstice kind of thing, but spend a week, spend 2 weeks, and spend that time in the public atrium, the public equivalent of atrium, I think. So where we find the frustration, if you ask me, is, and I was, talking to Jayashree about this, we have a large number of startups in agriculture and health, which are doing amazing work, but they're never going to have this hockey stick valuation. They're going to have a steady valuation. They're going to make a huge impact in this world. And we need to find VCs who are ready to fund that. There is enormous capability in agri-tech in this city, and with the state university, we are actually proving it on the ground. The problem is, where are the VCs to fund it?
Can I
Okay,
just
so
get to the point here?
yeah, so go ahead, Nandini.
So I think the
I'll give this to you.
So, that's the gap that we fill as a platform. So we are not VCs. So we are, working with individual money, family offices. And to your point, our investments are not always hockey stick valuations. So to the point that you're making, I think the money will flow. It's a function of either, bringing the volumes up, and B, the visibility. I think visibility could also be another way to tackle this problem. So, like the statistics that you're saying, I'm surprised because I wasn't aware of it. So now, for example, if we think that Hyderabad could be a hub for agri-tech, we need to actually focus there and, maybe do like a 2-day fair here, maybe ISB, T-Hub, and invite everybody there. We'll come, investors will come, and we actually focus on just one or two sectors and say, listen, here
We'll
are our...
definitely do that, Nandini. I think that's a great idea. We'll do that. But coming back to Ajit's point, while I have you here, I want some money, okay? So let's put it this way. Can we create fellowships or something like fellowships where we invite entrepreneurs and leaders to come serious amount of time, right? That's what Ajit is saying. Not 1 day, not 2 days. It's all going to... We'll do our part, Madan, right? Okay, he said yes. Can other people, the government, the VCs, can we create a big fund so that I can have a constant flow of entrepreneurs and these people hanging around here so that we get around this visibility issue?
Two things. First, we do have a fellowship program in government already, and I think Jayesh can give you more details on that. In fact, we have lots of different government departments aligned within the IT department, and there is a fellowship program.
I just want you to give me the money and we will manage
I'm coming
it.
to
So I don't want your, bureaucracy to...
We are good fellows also.
Good. Okay. All right. Okay.
Cheers. The second part of it was the funding part of it. In fact, we did contemplate creating a T fund as part of the T Hub, but unfortunately it has been a non-starter, I should confess.
15 crores.
Not to my satisfaction. 15 crores is, I mean, compared to what all these guys kind of deliver on a day-to-day basis, I think it's nothing. So therefore, I would not be talking about it if I were you. So therefore, it has been a non-starter, let me put it that way, and it has really not taken off. That is an area where government can put in some money, but we need VCs to actually pitch in, and then together, as Nandini put it, I think we can come out with something in the lines of a BTS, the Bangalore Tech Summit, maybe a couple of days event where the focus will be on innovation, startups, and VCs could have half a day's interaction with startups, etc. That is something that we very well can plan ahead of time. Say over, we can probably schedule it for sometime the middle of next year, so that we can start sending out the invites and start soliciting time of people, etc. So that is something we can do together. It could be at ISB, it could be elsewhere. The location really does not matter, but as long as it's in Hyderabad.
I think we are working together on this,
Sure,
so there's
sure.
no question about
In fact,
this being ISB thing. It's a joint effort.
Professor Chowdhury, in fact, T-Hub is also a joint venture of ISB, IIIT and NALSER. All of you are part of it. So it's your baby also. As much as it is my baby, it's your baby also. So let's not disown the baby that we had together. I think we all have to ensure that the baby grows and becomes an adult or an adolescent soon. But one thing I will commit to is government will definitely invest, but to what quantum? Because especially after COVID, our finances are all over the place, and well, capital has been flying in, into the private sector in a big way. Unfortunately, in government, the state governments don't get to do the quantitative easing or printing of the money or minting the money. It is the central government. And going back to what Jayashree was saying, there are a lot of regulatory challenges as well, which are not in our domain. There are a lot of things, and that is one area where government of Telangana can help. We can be the policy advocate for the startups. In fact, all the regulatory challenges that you are facing with Government of India, we can do that battle for you. We can pick up those policy advocacy kind of battles that you fight individually. We can be that champion. We can do that for you. And when a government takes it up on your behalf, I think it will help the ecosystem. It will help the country as well.
I think that's a fantastic suggestion. We will take it up. I'd like to invite Jayesh to give his insights on, how to make this working together a little bit smoother, so that we are not caught into, MOUs and agreements. We just want to go ahead and just do it. So, Jayesh. And Jayesh has been a champion of that philosophy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Professor Chaudhary. But before that, I'll also like to add to the appeal that Honorable Minister has made. See, we have done quite a lot in the last 7 years. We have created institutions. We have brought talent, the kind of incubation programs, acceleration programs that we see today is kind of world class, and the numbers speak for themselves. From say 200 startups to 6,600 startups, the kind of raise in our funding, etc., that we are seeing. I don't think any other city in this manner, in such a short period of time, would have witnessed these kind of numbers. But obviously the missing piece is more and more VC's attention. So as everyone else is pointing out, if we structure it nicely, for instance, the 15 or 18 VCs who are participating in the event today, if kind of they agree to some kind of a structured interaction, let us say once every month you come or your analysts come here, we will provide space, and most importantly, we will curate the startups that are aligned with your line of focus. In fact, in Hyderabad, one other good thing, which you will never find in any other city, is the kind of collaborative work that happens amongst the incubators and co-working spaces, etc. We have networks, we have an institution, again promoted by the government, which is called the State Innovation Cell. And 4 years ago, we started a concept called whole of the city approach. So regardless of whether you are incubating in, let us say, a T-Hub, or Triple IT, or CCMB, or IKP, we will ensure that SOP of incubation processes are followed. If there is a VC interaction which is being organized by one incubator, everyone else participates. So lots of these kind of networks, synergies are available here, which you will not find elsewhere. So this is an appeal from my side as well, that if you structure your participation in the Hyderabad ecosystem, Minister has already offered free space to you in the second phase of T-Hub building, which is a huge space, 350,000 square feet. And we can block a whole kind of a floor for all of you, where you don't have to pay anything, and your analysts can be there. But as Sanjay and others mentioned, if the founders come, let us say, as per a pre-scheduled, once in a month kind of a structure, we'll be very happy to showcase the best that is available. And whether you sign a check or not, just that interaction with you will add tremendous value to the journey of that startup. And obviously, we would like to work together with ISB. We are already doing a large number of things. So we have, as I said, institutions which take responsibility for delivering various kinds of areas of priority, and they are people who are actually outside the government. So for example, the T-Hub CEO who is sitting before us, he's not a government employee. He has been selected from the open market based on the merit that he possesses. And his entire team is like that. So we are free to work with them independently. They have our, the board of T-Hub permits T-Hub to get into certain kinds of partnerships and activities, and is free to do that. And I'm on the board, Dean ISB is on the board, and we'll be very happy to mandate T-Hub to organize the BTS kind of event which Minister Sir is talking about, and do various other things that is required to raise the profile of Hyderabad, that this is a city which has hundreds of investable kind of startups, and you will be able to get a higher return, and you will also have the satisfaction of seeing some startups really deliver huge social impact and community impact.
Okay, so free space, free food and good wine too, or no? Are we allowed or not? It's very important. Look, we are all reptilian brains, and even simple things, even though you're millionaires.
Okay. Professor Chaudhary, I just wanted to add one thing. In fact, all those guys who are from Bangalore, we don't have shows getting cancelled here. You know, Kunal Kamra's shows or Munawar Farooqi's shows. We don't claim to be cosmopolitan for the sake of it. We are truly cosmopolitan. No shows get cancelled here. We are a truly, truly secular state. We do not discriminate based on anything, and we don't take stand-up comedies too seriously. I mean, as seriously as Bangalore has taken and cancelled the shows. So therefore, we are truly, truly an open city. So therefore, welcome you all to spend more time and more money, of course, here. Thank you.
On that point, it's just a couple of thoughts, right? One, I think the idea to pick up some sectors is great, and for Hyderabad to not do healthcare and pharma would be a travesty.
That is our strength, so I just left it out because, I didn't want you guys to focus and obsess about it. So it's going to happen any which ways.
The tech side of things, not just the pure healthcare, but the tech side of things. So that's great. The second is, I think, sometimes, and I'm speaking of personal experience, Professor Chaudhary is aware, we were trying to sort of organize something for ISB alumni foundry startups. And while the government maybe at times just goes out of its way to enable things, that in itself can often be a bit of a I think just let things grow commercially, right? I think you put the enablers in place and let it be driven by pure commercial interests, right? I think often at times government funding comes with, hey, there needs to be a social impact, which is often
around your, whatever initiatives you have. For example, if you have a fund, I can tell you that this fund can scale up very, very quickly. It is rapid time to take up your money.
Okay, thank
Varun,
you.
just a quick response to that. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Just a quick response to that. See, Varun, problem ये है कि करूँ भी तो problem है, नहीं करूँ तो भी problem है. तो इसीलिए करना तो है. तो मैं क्या कहता हूँ कि what we could possibly do is government can look at 2 or 3 sectors. Say, like you said, social innovation or rural innovation. Maybe we focus exclusively on that and we fund those startups which possibly have the societal impact angle. Because ultimately it's exchequer's money I'm spending. So I'm answerable for the consolidated fund that we raise from the exchequer. But I take your point clearly. I mean, ultimately, free market is what matters. Bottom line returns is what matters from a investment perspective. So completely get your point. But I think going back to what you were saying, we will play to our strengths. Of course, the reason why I did not mention health tech is because we already have Novartis' second largest campus in the world doing exactly what you just mentioned. The interface of technology and life sciences is an exciting field to be in. They are into digital drug discovery and a bunch of other things that I don't have the time right now to talk about. But nevertheless, like I said, there are plenty of other strengths that Hyderabad can boast of, can focus on. But the emerging tech, since Vani mentioned emerging technology, that's why I was, kind of mentioning drones and also, mobility, because those are the sectors where neither Bangalore nor Chennai have stolen a march over us. We will continue to, of course, consolidate our strengths and bases, and then also look at emerging technologies and emerging frontiers which we can conquer and not compete with. Thank you.
I'd like to go to Shilpa. You have your hand up, and I know that Minister and Jayesh have to leave soon, but we'll take a couple more questions and close. So let me go to Shilpa, and then I'll come to a question.
Thanks, Bhavan. Thanks for some really interesting comments here. I have one suggestion. Cities are in a sense pools of talent marketplaces, right? And I thought it's an opportunity for Hyderabad not only to attract talent for startups per se, but also given your focus on mobility. I wonder if there's an opportunity to really make Hyderabad like a lighthouse demonstration city in terms of civic tech. And what I mean by that is, can Hyderabad offer up a lot of data to do with citizens, citizenry, geospatial data, which really, in a sense, makes it the most livable and dynamic city in the country. So it's a twofold proposition. One is the most livable and dynamic city, and that's why maybe Amazon chose, Seattle as its second headquarters. But also, in a sense, you have an opportunity to be the hub for civic tech entrepreneurship, especially, building on some of the strengths, like you said, of geospatial, which I know even ISB has done a lot of work on. So that was my suggestion.
Thank you, Shilpa. In fact, I'll pile on 3 things that you just said. Livability, mentioned dynamism, and you also mentioned a specific focus area and how data possibly can be shared. Firstly, on the point of livability, I should share with you guys, Hyderabad, in fact, has been rated as a city with the best quality of living among Indian cities 5 years in a row by Mercer, not by any Indian agency, but by Mercer, last 5 years, 2015 till 2020. No traffic like Bangalore, no pollution like Delhi, no heavy, commercial rentals like in Bombay, and no humidity like in Chennai. So therefore, we are far better. And Kolkata, I'm not even comparing. So I'm leaving it out. And Pune, I'm told, also does not have an international airport, just to rub it in. The other thing on momentum, you mentioned dynamism and momentum. In fact, JLL, one of the leading, real estate agents in the world, has rated Hyderabad as the most dynamic city in the world, not in India. This was last year's report. They released it in Chicago, and they had shared it with us. So Hyderabad's office space absorption over the last few years has been tremendous. In fact, we are the only city in India who's beaten Bangalore 3 quarters in a row in the last 20 years. Let me also add quickly, since you mentioned Amazon. Amazon's world's largest campus is here, not in Seattle. In fact, it's in Hyderabad, 3.1 million square foot of space. It's their world's largest. Let me also share with you the top 5 most valued tech companies of the world, all 5 of them without an exception. Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, the list goes on, Uber, Salesforce, Micron, Novartis, their second largest bases in the world are very much here in Hyderabad. I'm not even talking about a BPO kind of a base. No, this is all cutting edge R&D that's happening here. So the reason why I'm, narrating this story to you, gentlemen and ladies, is if you spend a bit more time, coming out of that, take off those rose-tinted glasses that you have for Bangalore, take a look at us closely and spend a bit of time here. I think you'll understand the kind of value proposition Hyderabad can offer you, because more importantly, we offer what Bangalore offers, but at half the cost. I think therein lies the value proposition, because you're all venture capitalists, and like Varun said, it's all about return. So therefore, Hyderabad has a bigger bang for the buck. You guys might want to actually talk to JLL, Cushman, whoever else you deal with, and understand that value proposition also, the bigger bang for the buck. So, once again, that was my elevator pitch for you guys. Cheers.
So I know you have to leave. Let's take
Yes.
2 more questions. Is that okay? Do you have time for that?
Yes, if only my chief minister doesn't fire me at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, you have a good relationship with him, I have told.
I think, yes, there is a relation.
Okay, please go ahead.
Hi, this is David. First of all,
Bad job. First of all, bad job.
so very inspired by you and seeing a lot of your speeches. One of the reasons I come to this is because you have been very, very sort of direct about it. So I have 2-3 suggestions, which I had done because I work with Varun Rajasthan in capacity volunteer, and I also work with TAI in terms of suggestions. So 2-3 suggestions, which is basically more of direct suggestion. So I think entrepreneurs, venture capitalists need something. Whether that can be provided or not, that if can be done, then it could be direct impact. So I'll focus on 3 things. One is venture capitalist, entrepreneur, and ecosystem. So venture capitalists basically need capital. There are a couple of budding venture capitalists sitting there. I know you said capital is constrained, and I don't think capital needs to be provided as a fund, like government creating fund. If government create a fund, which basically allocate very small capital, 2 crore, 5 crore, 10 crore, to a fund, does not put a constraint. Typically, government put a constraint. Rajasthan government created RVCF, they put a constraint here to fund Rajasthan entrepreneur. GVFL created a fund. That could help basically VCs coming to your city. They may not come on invitation even if there's a personal request, personal equation. But if you provide capital, I'm sure they might come. That's one. Entrepreneurs typicically grow in hubs. Bangalore has a virtuous cycle. It's very difficult to break a virtuous cycle. So, for example, Koramangala, HSR, Indranagar, they're like literally hubs. I know there are hubs here, Gachibowli. I have a co-working space in Gachibowli, so I'm aware of the hubs. But if you can grow hubs to the level which are like literally in Koramangala, etc., it's very difficult to grow the hubs. You need to provide an entrepreneur the entire ecosystem. If those can be done and hubs are very stronger, then it could break. Additional thing an entrepreneur need, I don't think we can do anything about taxes, that's central government department. But what can be done is, can we lower their cost? Cost can be lower in only 2 aspects on practical ground. One in infra, which is in your hand, and given you are an urban development minister as well. And second on talent. I'm not too sure if, let's say, at lower level, 25,000 rupee or 50,000 rupee or 1 lakh rupee, if there's some support can be provided. If you're hiring, you're supporting certain X cost. I work with ICICI Bank to develop their innovation center, which basically built a hub. Once you start building hub, automatically what Shilpa talked about, livability, things start flowing. Once you start building hub, then people start coming. So that's sort of second thing on that part. Third thing which you have done already brilliant job is basically grab the real estate, like brought Amazon, brought this thing. If third can be done, because once the talent pool is here, entrepreneur and VCs will start sort of coming. We already have here, I was actually with my brother-in-law who works in Amazon. But the thing is, he's alone. He has nobody in the family. He has people in Bangalore. And he's telling, Bhaiya, I'm looking for a job in Bangalore. But he's alone in the sense like he doesn't have ecosystem here, right? So how can we create the ecosystem where more people are coming? I feel Bangalore has better ecosystem compared to Hyderabad. We cannot beat Bangalore in weather, so that's a slight disadvantage we have. But if we can do those three things, that's good. And create a small team or something which can work on this thing and then try to take it forward, that could be helpful. One message that I have for you, typically worldwide, institutions have endowment funds. Typically, endowment fund are created by 2 ways, alumni grant and endowment fund, where alumni become LPs. I don't think any Indian institution doing it. IIT Delhi is doing it. I don't even see my institution, even IIT Bombay, doing it. But if your alumni can be LPs in a fund created by your alumnus, your fantastic alumna, and then you can get, I'm sure even ISB create a fund, could be 50 crore, 100 crore, and then you can start doing it.
He's working on it right now,
Sure.
as you speak. But
Okay, that would be great.
Let me take this chance for one more question and then we'll stop. Is that right? Or do you
Yeah,
want-
sure, sure. In fact, I'll just say one thing to him, because I think lots of good ideas, lots of good suggestions he made. Fund of funds is a good idea, of course, and that's the way to go. Like Varun said, that's the only way to go. In fact, there's no other way about it. But what we don't have, like Bangalore, we'll substitute by two things. You said I can't bring Bangalore's weather here, of course not. But I also don't want Bangalore's traffic here. I have better traffic here. And we also have a better government here. So therefore, we play to our strengths. Why should we ape Bangalore? We can create a new ecosystem. We have a government in here which listens and talks to the entrepreneurs, engages with them, understands them, and tries to do something about the kind of changes they want in the ecosystem here. So I don't see that happening very often in Bangalore. And I'm not trying to trash Bangalore here. And more importantly for us to understand, we're not just in competition with Bangalore today. The venture capital is all over the place. Sand Hill Road, has so many VCs lined up, and they fund all over the US. So a VC could very well be in Bangalore, but they could be funding startups in Hyderabad, like how they're funding startups in Chennai. So it really does not matter that physically, while they are, of course, needed here, sometimes even having an eye on Hyderabad and ensuring that we catch their attention is also good enough. So therefore, lots of very interesting comments, and we'll certainly take some of them. Cheers.
Okay, and you have the last word, last question.
Yes, sir.
Please make it short because they have to leave.
Hello, KTR Garu.
Hi.
My name is Shyam Penamaka. I am also an ISB alum from class of 2006. I have one comment and one suggestion for everybody. Sure. So comment is, I am from Dallas Venture Capital. You know Dayakar Garu very well. You have been supporter, and Jayesh Garu also is supporter for us. So we are officially launched now. We are in Hyderabad. We are a 350 crore fund. And we just made our investment 2 weeks back, first investment from India fund, though we have done 25 investments in India, in US. So our first investment, also happy to say that it's in a company called Disperse, again started by ISBNs from class of 2007. And we are also right across the T-Hub new office.
Yes, of course.
So we will definitely look forward to working with T-Hub directly and also interact and welcome other VCs from Bangalore and all to work with. So that's my comment. And one suggestion for not only to KTR Garu, for everybody, is one of the things I am seeing is there are a lot of startups which are single founder kind of startups, and they are finding an issue in finding co-founders with the various skills and all. Also, on the other hand, we don't have structured entrepreneur in residence program in India. So can there be a common entrepreneur in residence program, which is kind of a CSR or supported by government as well, where we mentor some 10, 15 and in a batch or cohort of 10, 15 potential co-founders or entrepreneurs in residence as a combined joint initiative. It's a 1 year or 2 year fellowship program, and they will be absorbed by companies when they are getting Series A, Series B funded, etc. from other companies. So this could be something maybe we can all look at it together as an ecosystem, is one of the suggestions.
Thank you for your business from Dallas Ventures. And secondly, just a quick response to what you just said. ISB, in fact, runs a program called TEP, the Technology Entrepreneur Program, in combination with Telangana government. You should look that up because that's very much in alignment with what you just said. And also T-Hub, in fact, has an entrepreneur in residence program. So you can certainly consult Srini. He'll tell you more about it, and we can certainly take it forward.
There was a little pause at TAP because of COVID, but we need to restart.
Of course, we can
it.
revise.
Yes, okay.
Cheers.
So I'd like to thank everyone for being here, and I just want to say this is only the first of many such conversations.